So I hope you all had some coffee. So we have the pleasure to have Gavin with us here again. For those coming to the mandatory dinner, Gavin can share some fun stories about our trip to Iceland and the bag. But you
You
share.
do not want to make me tell people stories about what you did in Iceland. No.
Okay.
He's just put himself right into it.
I
If he's been getting on your nerves today, then yes, I'm happy to embarrass him.
I just wanted them to pay attention now. I think they are. Go ahead.
You've put yourself in it now. So yeah, thank you, Bruno. And actually, great job. Great to see YLD going, because there were some struggles over the years, and it's hard efforts of many people in this room. Bruno's now one of them as well. That's kept it together, and it's a unique opportunity to meet people. And some of you might be thinking, "Oh no, it's another session," and that's it's been a full-on day, right? Stuck in a room all day. But it's the exact same out there in the Congress. Don't get me wrong, it's much more boring out there. But bringing you guys together is such a unique and wonderful thing if you get talking in your spare time. So maybe it's opportunities like dinner, or afterwards when you sneak out of the hotel and have a social drink. Then you actually start to think about how your projects are going to be. I've been there, don't worry, I was a young leader. I was the wrong young leader for a bit. So in this session, we're going to be talking a bit about your projects, but more so about fundraising beyond pharma. And pharma are maybe including in that the diabetes industry. And in that, I may come as you as a little bit of a hypocrite, because I was a young leader. I am very grassroots in the things I've done. I've started an organization. I've connected other organizations, as I shared with League of Diabetes. But now I also work in industry. So I'm the bad guy in this, but perhaps I can give you some areas of positive information as well in this journey. Here's our clicker. So there I am. My name's Gavin. Look at how miserable I look in that photo. Look at that. So yeah, I founded a charity. It's called Diafleet. League of Diabetes is our network. And you can see Jazz, unfortunately, is not here with us. I was going to have Jazz Sefi also join in this session. You probably know her online as well. She's done some incredible things. She engages a lot online. So I'm going to blame that typo on Jazz, fundraising. But maybe linking in with my session earlier, fundraising, that's part of it, actually. That is where you start. How do you make it interesting to raise the funds? So this is partly what I'm going to begin with, but I'm going to get you involved because you've been sat on your rear ends all day. So this question goes to anyone here who wants to answer, and I'm going to pass you the ball. Conveniently, Portugal, going out tomorrow or tonight, maybe. What potential funders or supporters would you approach outside of the diabetes or healthcare market? So we're looking at all the pharmaceutical guys, the big insulin companies, or maybe it's the guys that I work for, Medtronic, etc. So outside of those diabetes known companies, what comes to your mind of who to approach as potential funders? And you can be open about this. It could be somebody you know locally, could be other companies that might come to mind. So let's stand up, shall we, and pass a ball, and then pass it on to the next person. So who wants to, right, how good is my throw? I'm maybe not quite Cristiano Ronaldo. Oh, what are they? I'm much better. What's your name first as well, just so I know. Maybe you have connected, but name and where you're from, and then what your answer is. Yes, good thinking. Connections, really, yeah. So who do you know, or who knows somebody in the right places? That's a first good point of call. So that's a good shout. We'll go on to that as well in this session. bad touch. Look at that. I'm English. We're going to go here. I saw, yeah, Andy. Yeah. Okay. Do we throw the mic with the ball? Could be dangerous. But no, good shout with universities and colleges. And actually, we'll come back to that as well, because there's two ways a university could support in terms of the financing of a project. So really good shout.
I would say some big organizations, like I work with Etzel Technologies, and all of these big organizations have CSR funding. And if you're doing good work, they're very supportive of your work, and they would be willing to support the cause and, as part of the CSR funding, give you like funds in a big amount. So I know, because HCL has been funding a lot of organizations and NGOs already. So I think that is one way through which we can actually achieve that.
That's a really good shout as well. And probably some similarities with the kind of educational institutes there. Perhaps there's multiple ways where they could actually connect in with your project, and whether they're giving out the grants, or maybe they can help in promoting events as well. So maybe a mixed category there. Good one. Maybe this. Maybe someone at the back to begin with, just to get that ball moving a little bit. We got to. Okay, I can't. Yes, that was very yes. Let's give the ball.
Okay, so I know a security company at home, and it's been a great support in the country, like within the country, based on sponsoring different stuff. So I think, like, creating a proposal to this security company, we might have some sponsorship to do some work.
Yeah, I like that. And you know what? It can have absolutely nothing to do with diabetes. And if you can find the way, you've got the connection, which is, again, connecting in over there with Israel as well. You've got the connection. That's part one. Part two is, then how do you tie in your proposal to something to do with, okay, security? Well, guess what? We need to be secure with our diabetes. Here's why. So, again, that's you kind of work the pitch from there. That's, opens the door. There's enthusiastic hands. We're staying on the same table.
A lot of people you can look into are foreigners, like the diaspora outside of your country are always willing to give back, especially those who have, speaking from low-income countries, there are a lot of people who have gone out of the country and established their own good basis. So if you look at them, they're always willing to help and give back to their communities.
Yep, good one. Yeah, so looking around, who's funding what, who's actually making the big, perhaps, income in diabetes care, and maybe is willing to then give back as well from overseas. Good one. Do I go extremely long? I'm going to go for it. Oh, look at that. That was very dangerous. Are we getting a microphone out here? Sorry.
So I think a good thing to think about is also, it depends on what are you funding for. If you're doing a specific project, for example, for a nutrition, for example, we had a success with manufacturers of like healthy food, or like restaurants of healthy food that would like love to host you or like give you free stuff, or especially startups like who can be tied to the industry, because they also need good publicity, and like if you partner with someone who needs good publicity, you both get something out of it. And for example, like in sports, like we were doing typical people who sponsor sport-related things. So I think, it also depends on what you're going for, because you can find supporters in those subsections and see who is willing to, maybe also include people with diabetes.
Yeah, really good connection there as well with that. And, look at one hand, sports, where's the money? Look at football. My team, Crystal Palace Football, you probably never heard of Crystal Palace. We're useless, and we're paying players like Christian Benteke was getting £100,000 a week. So surely they've got some money spare, right? He scored 2 goals in about 4 years as a striker. But he earned a lot for those goals. But in addition to that, as you kind of say, like, link it in again. Like, it might not just be sports, though, but you could look at what background that is, and then what's your project, Sporty Diabetes Project, links in. Think about it outside of the box. What connects? Where's the money at? And don't be afraid to ask. I'm going to go to this side of the room, and then I'm going to introduce my friend Mohammed as well. You want me to throw it there? Okay. And maybe one more at the back as well. There.
Okay. So for my project, we were doing a sports and diabetes project, and it was going through the sport clubs. So sport clubs were supporting it, and at the beginning, it didn't have any knowledge of health department or anything. And how did we get the funding? It was from the European Union, Erasmus Plus Sport Department. So it wasn't going, it was from the European Union, okay, but maybe a lot of you doesn't have European Union to support, but still we didn't search for the money from the health department. We were searching it from the sport, which had like quite a good amount of, and they want to do something in related. So again, thinking out of the box, and if you have some other project, maybe not sport, but maybe something else, you can try to find, to see who is supporting that part to support your...
Yeah, great. Maybe going behind you. You want to do the throw for me? You might be better at it. Yes. No, you're not the mic. I can see the fear in Bruno's eyes there. Look at that.
Okay, so my idea, maybe someone already said it, but maybe some local businesses would like to promote their brand, but also help if you are from a small city and you have, it doesn't have to be a restaurant, it can be a shop, it can be anything basically, because it's like free advertisement for them.
Yep.
But I was thinking for my project specifically, for the hiking part, so there is an organization, they build themselves up, 2 guys who started this hiking group, and other people were joining them, and there is like a fee. But they have now so many supporters, even like press, like some organization through like press companies sponsoring them. So I was trying to think about ways how to join them, so to maybe get some sponsoring around it.
Yeah.
And for the other option of photography through like the gadgets, I'm still planning the project.
Yeah.
Maybe even IDF.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't count on
because
it.
they want,
No, I'm
they
joking.
basically wanted me to take pictures, as they have like outdated pictures for all of their brochures
Yeah.
from archives, so maybe new ones.
Well, yes, you always got to ask, and you're right again, it links into what a lot of you are saying, connect the dots. And if you're doing an event in a local area, more so, your local town, you're right to say it, local businesses, what exposure, that's the key word, what exposure can they get from your event? And that's how you've got to sell it. So, yeah, well done. Maybe we're going to go to the front there, and then I'm going to rope in Mo on his opinion as well for a moment.
Well, I feel already like what she already said
Yep.
answers what I wanted to say. But basically, companies need to know what they would benefit if they support you, that kind of a thing. They need to know, like, they can't just be losing money. So one other thing maybe that I could propose is, say, you want to, yes, as a diabetes maybe organization, if you want support, you may not just have to ask for funding, but you may sort of like propose to say, so like we wanted to sort of have an awareness on this issue, maybe say mental health, then find organizations that are doing mental health stuff and collaborate with them and do things, I mean, try to find out on their programs what the days that they have sessions like that, and then come and collaborate, not just maybe asking for funding, but work together to achieve the same goal, because I mean,
Yeah,
I think
great.
that's,
Yeah, great. And look at that. Around this room, you already got it now down. You already know. The gold dust is in this room, and that's why it's important, as I said earlier, for you to connect, get those ideas, get right in your notes, as I can see some of you doing down on paper, because those ideas can happen and they can grow together. If you give me the ball there. Still got it. No, he hasn't. Over to Mo. So Mo, our little question here, what potential funders or supporters would you approach outside of the diabetes or healthcare bubble? Someone mentioned, we were just talking over there about the local, getting local companies in. And I know that you've done that in Kuwait. So would you like to firstly say, hey, I'm Mo. I just turned up, by the way. And then tell us a bit about what you've done there.
Hey, everyone. I'm really honored to be among you guys. You're going to be surely going to do amazing work in the current time and in the future. My name is Mo Mohammed. I'm from Kuwait. I'm living with diabetes for 36 years. I am the founder of Diabetes Ambassadors Program and the Diabetic Traveler. So that's not important. The important thing is about you. Because I'm going to be talking about how you can overcome those obstacles and those challenges you may face. It may be difficult, but when you break down the challenges you have, you will be able to reach those objectives. Because me and Gavin, we worked really hard to get potential sponsors. You may not get that amount that you need, but you will do your best. Pharmaceutical companies, as you mentioned, may not fund you, but other companies may. Coffee shops, maybe motor vehicles, they would do that. Maybe some small businesses, they can help you, support you, maybe using their social media platforms. If they have more than 20,000 or 50,000, that's also beneficial for you. Never say no. If you have someone who's allowing you to use their platform, say yes. Even if they're not funding you with money, still you will need their platforms just in case, so people will know more about you. I know diabetes, not everyone is affected by diabetes, but when you approach, let's say, certain companies, you would tell them, your impact is this and this and this is your social responsibility. What are you going to do? One other thing is also some people do have certain characteristics better than others. I am and Gavin, we're good in funding, but we're not maybe good in social media, doing the graphic design. So we rely on Joe or we rely on Leonor to do that. It's not an issue to say, I don't know. It's fine. We learn. Every day we're learning. I'm learning every day. Gavin is learning. You are learning every day. It's always there is a approach for learning. They can be difficult, yes, but they can be approachable. Sometimes you have to ask someone, maybe you need to ask a friend, you need to ask a colleague, is he approachable today? How is he feeling today? Is he into sports? Is he into healthcare? You need to know when you meet up your sponsors, you have to do your homework. Because if you have like a proposal, that's my highlight for reaching sponsors is when you make a proposal, don't shove it up with information. Just write the gist of it. Briefing, I want to do this, and you get to benefit this and this and this. In one page, 2 page maximum, contact person, and that's it. You don't need to do a lot of things to mention and to attract their attention. You can add few photos, maybe 3 photos, 4 photos, 5 photos, but don't put them all in one page. You just try to maximum 3 photos. That's the maximum of it and the impact of it. The photos that you feel happy about, the photos that you feel very close to you, not photos that you weren't feeling good, because they can sense, they can see your energy in that. That's very much important. One of the things is also I never expected is being able to work with a global community. I never thought I never loved my diabetes, to be honest, when I was younger. I hated it. I just lied about it. I took my medication in the toilet. I checked my blood sugar in the toilet. But I learned that diabetes is my mission and objective in life, and it changed my life a lot. And I learned to speak up about my weaknesses. If I have weaknesses, I would tell Gavin, you need to fill it up. I would learn, definitely. But I know where my weaknesses is, and I work on it. So finding fundraising and finding sponsors is challenging, but it's not difficult. You can do that. Because they have social responsibility. They have to do what they need to do. They're not just doing that out of, charity. They're doing it for an impact. So it's very much important to highlight that as an approach.
One question at the back there. You're being recorded. Come on. Okay. We'll use this one.
Oh, it works.
Yeah, there we go.
I think this question is kind of for the both of you. First, Muhammad, the demographic in Bahrain, in Kuwait is kind of very similar to the demographic in Bahrain as well. I'm just thinking, when you're in the middle of your project, I think it's so much easier to get fundraising because you're already successful and they'd want something out of it, right? But when we talk about, I'm launching my project very soon, I don't have anything to present. No pictures, there is potential, but there is nothing very attractive about the potential itself. So you suggested motor companies. I'm not entirely sure whether they'll find the idea very attractive, So I think in the middle of the project, it's so much easier, but how do you get started with the fundraising?
If you don't have, let's say, you don't have photos or whatever it is, be honest of how you deliver the message. Be very serene about how you deliver a message. I had a meeting with one of the sponsors. He has that kitchenette kind of business. He's a multi-millionaire. And he was looking at me and he said, I gave few people like amount of money, they bought a car with it. I said, okay, but I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it for helping others to live a healthy and productive life with diabetes. And he was looking at me in the eye and he said, you know what, I'll give you that amount of money. It wasn't the whole amount of the trip, but he chipped in. He covered up 3 individuals living with diabetes. You can be on, people will sense you if you're honest or not. They will sense you if you're up to that point or not. And one way or the other, let's be honest about it, one way or the other, you didn't get that sponsor, you may fund it by yourself. You may do fundraising online. Or maybe you will approach brands, let's say sports brands. They may fund you. Maybe they will not fund you with money, they will fund you.
What's the selling point for an idea that's
Restaurants as well, yeah.
it's infancy, do you get my point?
Yeah.
Now, what's your selling point? How can you sell the idea for them?
We're going to get to that. We're going to get to that, actually. That's the last bit of this.
How you sell the idea is how you present it, how you wrap it up, how you have to have a cliffhanger sometimes, and then you tell them this is the idea. That's one of the way, and being honest of how you sell the idea. Hopefully that clarifies it.
So you actually have good questions, and actually that's the key part of being here, right? We're going to try to discuss how do we sell our ideas, how do we pitch that? So I know we haven't got too much time, but there's some key areas of what to consider when starting up and approaching funding and doing that, particularly outside of where the natural diabetes money is with all the companies. So starting with low budget action, and this is where you've all started from, right, really? You saw earlier I was doing those hypo things. Do you want to do that again? Do you want to get moving? Are you okay there? No? Okay. You remember how it goes, though. So that was something that was very grassroots. You don't need money all the time. So this is where I started. I was actually 16 years old when I first got involved in diabetes. I don't know why. I actually was a completely rebellious child in school. But then as a teenager, I decided I wanted to get involved. I wanted to fundraise. And those faces there on that screen, in fact, they're kids with smiles on their faces. That's no money involved. That's a park. That's a park in my local area. And there's my first photo, as Mo was saying, really. Someone snapped a photograph. These kids running around playing what we called a sports clinic. It was thinking outside the box. Hypo squats, hyper jumps, that's the icebreaker. These kids that felt uncomfortable to come to the session are suddenly now happy. They're doing something a bit different. They're not being lectured to about diabetes. So it's extremely grassroots. Then I thought, how can I add to this? And I started getting more creative. Some things worked, others didn't. But you don't know unless you try. But all it took was a bit of social media. Twitter was becoming big back then, saying, look, I'm going to be here. This was Wallace Park in Northern Ireland. There's a little social group of type 1 mums that made their kids come along. This guy that runs marathons, he's going to turn up and give you a talk. And then we went to a park, did a talk, did these hypo squats. Then they started playing games. Team Insulin taking on Team Carbohydrates in a game of tag rugby. And I'm English. I know my team are useless at rugby. but it went down well in Ireland. And you know what? These kids, they were learning things. They were coming up. They was explaining what insulin is and glucose is. And they were doing it with a smile on their faces. And that cost absolutely nothing apart from my own ticket to go and fly to Northern Ireland from London. So sometimes you start grassroots, and that's where it begins. And I think if you capture the right moments, you can then start to sell in time what you're about, because you start doing it. You start to learn yourself, and then you start to grow as time goes by if you keep at it. So start from scratch. The one thing I would say, and I heard a question earlier in one of your sessions you had earlier, what about being afraid if nobody turns up? You know, when you're trying to, I think the girl over there actually, you were mentioning about if no one turns up, and you've gone through all that planning and organising. I've been doing this for, I don't know, too long, about 15 years since I started there. And I've had so many sessions where there's just been 3 people. In fact, once I travelled halfway across England to go to a workshop, and I had 1 child and their family turning up. And on the inside, I'd admit, I felt very disheartened. I kind of started to question, why am I doing this? But then at the end of the session, I just did the same thing I was going to plan to do, and I did it one-on-one with that child. And that is the difference right there, because that child now is seeing diabetes a bit differently, and that's your job. If you want to be an advocate, if you want to be a leader, then it doesn't matter how many people come. It's making the difference to the one that in time turns to many, because maybe that child will go on and influence others. So begin with low budget action. Look at what's your surroundings. Parks. If you can, I think Joe mentioned about institutes like education. Maybe they can fund you, but maybe they won't fund you at all. If you went to a university, say, hey, lecturer, I want to do this workshop. Can you do me a deal? Maybe they do it for free. I did a challenge. I ran 30 miles a day for 30 days, stupid, from John O'Groats to Land's End. I survived. You can do it. You can do anything with type 1 diabetes if you really focus on it. But when I did that, I paid £300 in expenses of accommodation. Now, that's probably 2 nights for the average person. These people in this conference, they're probably paying that for 1 night here, right? I did that for a whole 30 days. I just wrote them a letter. I poured my heart out in the letter, and I said, look, 1 paragraph, I'm running the length of the country. I've got type 1 diabetes. This is what this means to me. This is why I'm doing it. Can you give me this hotel for £20? Most of them, some said £20, others said have it for free. And so target the right people and keep trying, and you get there. So there's where it begins, grassroots. Low budget ideas are the best because they come from the heart. And moving that into grassroots funding, as I say, as Mo was saying, capture those images when you start to do them more frequently. Get feedback. I think Paula said it earlier. Get feedback, because you can quote that to the healthcare teams. You can quote that to the sponsors in the future. And you can see the difference that you're making in time. And even more so, if the feedback's negative, that's good, because you learn. If your low blood sugars are coming in and your high blood sugars are coming in, well, guess what? That's good, because you learn why that's happening in time. So same approach, in my opinion, with grassroots funding. I started fundraising for my projects by having my word with my local pub. In England, we love a pub. I said, look, I'm going to do an event. Can you give me that room for free? They said, yeah. How I sold that? Well, simple. You're going to get more people in your bar. You're going to make more profit from these people being in here that night. So I got the place for free. I charged £5 a ticket. I made £500 with the people that came along, if so many people come. And that's a small bit of funding that, again, can go a long way. So think about that. Who do you know? Who can give you a venue for free? We're going to talk about in-kind sponsorship. That is very much it. That's where it begins, grassroots fundraising. And of course, your healthcare teams. Make that relationship. Sometimes you might see not eye to eye with them, but they're the ones with the patients. They're the ones that you want to inspire, because if they can help you, you're making a big outcome there, because they're the ones that are going to invite people along to your events, whichever they may be, with your projects. So network, get involved with these healthcare teams. They're actually there, and more today, through social media, etc. They're out there, they're willing to listen. And I think if you sell it the right way, you show with your heart what you're about, they will get involved. The right people will get involved, and they will invite their patients along. And you can then connect and build your network from there. So start from the grassroots and keep going. And if one person turns up, don't quit. That's one more person that knows about what you're about, and maybe they're going to help you in the future. And online sessions is a new thing, really, but again, it costs nothing, really, to do something online. You're all engaged probably on social media channels. You can do a live session for free on Instagram, etc. That's been going on since lockdown began. Don't discredit that. That's something. And if that's something, that can also then be proposed to a company in the future to be a little bit more than just something. You're doing stuff, and that counts. So this activity, I don't know how much time we've got, to be honest. We've got a few things, but we haven't got much time. So maybe keep this in your notes. Make a list of possible partners in your country, local area that you think would help. And maybe after this, have a little conversation with each other, because I absolutely think when you're bouncing those ideas, as we did at the start, you're starting to write notes. You don't know me, or you don't need Mo to go and tell you. You know, and somebody sitting next to you or behind you has also done something a little bit differently. Learn from each other. When I said League of Diabetes, the thing I started, these are different organizations doing different things, but together we share about it. We actually then start to do it in our own way, in our own country, and it provides a good long-term outcome. So make those own notes yourselves, because I don't want to go over time, but do have that conversation at dinner, in your spare time, at this Congress. And in-kind, this is the other thing that I wanted to get to you about. In-kind is the way to actually make a budget plan. So never undervalue yourself to a company, first and foremost. I work for Medtronic now. I see all kinds of sponsorship proposals coming in. For me, personally, running a local grassroots organization, it depends, again, on location. Sometimes that's very challenging where you are in the world. But I wouldn't be going for the big funding, right? But then there's some companies that will give out grants within reason, a couple of thousand more, sometimes up to 10,000. If it's going big over a continent, then you want to reach not the country. If you're looking at something above 10,000 euros or so, or dollars, depending on where you're based, then that's a big thing for them to consider. It's going to go across many legal teams. So the way to deal with that is firstly get the right contact. Some of you mentioned that. Know people in these companies. Look them up on LinkedIn. Look the names up. Send them an email. Don't ask for money in the first email. Just say who you are, where you're from, what you're about, make the connection, and then start bringing forward your proposal in time. Don't go straight in asking for money with the big guys. And again, that's not just in pharma, which we're saying how to get around. That also counts for other companies. But in-kind support is very different to that. It's a case of getting your budget plan and then chalking off areas of need. So, for example, my first ever support was in my local gym. I'm going to run 30 marathons in 30 days. I need to train. It's going to cost me how much money to go and train in your gym? Well, look, I'm doing you a favor. I'm going to get press. I'm going to get interest. Their social media are going to be following me. So there's another example of actually, well, if you give me your gym membership for free, I'm going to use it, but I'm going to promote you. I'm going to take some selfies. I'm saying I'm training for this. So that was in-kind sponsorship, because the gym membership was then waived from my overall expenses to do the marathons project. It might be different to that. I got sponsored by Decathlon before. They were giving me free shoes and running trainers and stuff like that. Again, that's a bit of the budget gone. Joe mentioned, I think, about the universities. If you're going to do a conference or something like that, can you give me the room for free? If you can, I'm a student here, or whatever it is. I know a student that goes there. Play it that way. If they give you something for free, that is a big part of your budget off, and that is meaning you've got more potential to go and succeed in your project. So look at the deals, be persuasive as well. If I'm good, and Mo touched upon it already, but if you're looking at persuading people, you've got to pitch things. I'm going to quote you something from Wolf of Wall Street. Anyone seen that movie? About the pen, sell me the pen. And of course, he then says, I need something to write your name. Can you write your name? Well, bang, there's a pen. So think about that way. He did it very quickly. He got to the point. Sometimes when we make proposals, we make them endlessly. We put all our heart into it, which is good. It needs to be in there, but it needs to be captured pretty much in one page. I work in industry. I get so many emails, I hardly have time to check them. So really, you want to really inspire me in your email, in your first paragraph. You want to tell me who you are, where you're from, what you're about, without overdoing it. And then, once that connection's established, the proposal has to be short and sweet. And that doesn't just happen in pharma, that's outside pharma as well. In fact, more to the point, outside of pharma, they want to know why diabetes, why not something else. So sell diabetes, why that connects. I think we just said there as well, like it's something completely out of the blue, like, I don't know, protection or something like that. Well, how do you connect the two? What does that mean? What's the metaphor? In Medtronic, we've been doing the Blue Balloon Challenge. Balloons have nothing. Maybe we could go, if you're some sort of company starting that up and you want to come to a company, you say, well, here's a balloon. Well, it's like balancing life with diabetes. So if you can think outside the box, sometimes you get the results, and that's what you need to do outside of pharma as well. You need to sell it, whether it's sports companies, whether it's other brands. Think of what the better brand is. How can you make a diabetes story out of it? And how can you get that going? So what Jazz wanted you to do was make a pitch. I'm looking at the time. I'm thinking we've got 1 minute. So Bruno's not there. Are we okay for time if they were going to discuss in a group about making a pitch together? Or do we need to sharpishly... 5 more minutes? Okay. Well, I want to encourage you then, in these 5 minutes, to discuss a little bit about what we just spoke about, but how would you kind of put a proposal to me? Let's say I work outside of diabetes, I'm in some kind of company. What kind of pitch would you give me? So if you can discuss how you would approach or the connections you would use between yourselves, maybe make some notes on those little pads there, and if we've got time, we can quickly read a few out. But let me know if you don't get it, okay? So just a pitch, right? Yes, a pitch, but set it to me like the pen, if you can, right? A project, so, well, maybe young leaders in diabetes. How about that? You got this group of people from around the world, you want to do something with them. You can emphasize, it might be a trek of them going for a trek together. It might be having a conference together. It might be going around educating. You think about that. Something to do with young leaders in diabetes, pitch it. All right? How are you going to sell young leaders in diabetes to me outside of pharma? That's the question. Yeah, I'm somebody, I might be a company, you can place it how you see fit. I could be a company, I could be a connection, I could be somebody with a lot of money, right? Make up who I am. All right, who am I? Who should I be? I'm not pharma. I'm outside of pharma.
Donald Trump.
I'm Donald Trump. Or I'm a businessman. I'm not Donald Trump. Don't throw anything at me. I'm a businessman, and I have a business in engineering, right? I'm an engineer business, and you can quote that however you like. And if you don't like engineering, make something up, right? 5 minutes, have a discussion.
Sometimes the pitch can be a story that you have done, like someone came to you. Usually most of my projects didn't require money. In Kuwait, I do them online or I go to schools, but some do require money. I would say 30% require money, the rest don't require money. It's how you give the heart to. But mainly, I did a workshop. My first workshop I did for adults. I had only 3 attendees, only 3, not more. After 1 year, one of them called me and said, I think I did the right decision with my life with diabetes, is that I attended that workshop. It changed my life. It made me be a better person. Her mother was narcissistic. Her mother was very abusive. She told her, nobody's gonna get married to you because you have diabetes, you have a lot of illness, and nobody's gonna take you as a burden. But after 1 year and a half, she told me, I did the right decision. Sometimes you don't see the impact directly. Sometimes you see it when they grow older and they become students in universities. And I trained parents who they have their kids weightlifting and they are in medical school. And I'm very proud. They don't come to you directly and tell you that, but you can see them growing. Because people will, let's be honest, parents don't come to your workshops to see you. They will see their kids in you. So that's why you have to be a very good example for them. You have to be honest about it, and you have to be serene about yourself.
So, you are Nestle, and I have an activity with kids. I have an activity with kids, a sports activity. You will get me small hypo treats, and look and forward that the children will get used to your products. and those kids' first choice will be your products.
Can I pitch him the idea? Like I sell the idea? Okay, okay. So, so you are, just like you said, the businessman with like the engineering stuff and whatever it is. And I'm pitching your contribution to the YLD program. Okay? Can I start? Okay, okay.
This is why
Okay, so 14 years ago, a girl was admitted to the hospital with a stomachache. She was sent back because she was called a brat by the doctor in the emergency room. The next day, this girl woke up blind, unable to breathe, and unable to move. She was given 5 minutes before going into brain death. And in those 5 minutes, the doctors realized she had diabetes. And after that, she was placed in a community of other people with a journey similar to hers. And through that, this girl, 14 years later, is standing here in front of you. The only reason that I am here right now is because I was a part of a community that lifted me up and supported me. And the reason that I am here with you is because I am trying to get other people that went through my journey in a room together to support each other. Now, what comes in it for you? I do understand that. This is a conference that will have big pharma companies. And it is known that your engineering company is very reputable and is known to be in partners with other pharma companies in order to build, the fancy places that they need to show off in front of everyone. So if you are our sponsor and you're there and you're helping us, they're going to realize that you are interested in diabetes. And they will talk to you the next time they think of any project that they need that involves engineering. Thank you. I will take the money.
No, it was really good. I cried and then I gave you all my money, like in 5 seconds. No, I just wanted to answer someone's question earlier because he was mentioning that he was selling diabetes and diabetes was not sexy. And my point is that you're not selling diabetes and you won't make diabetes sexy. You're selling your willingness, your commitment, your innovative ideas, your willingness. And for instance, when I raised money for my marathon, I was going to run the New York City Marathon, but I needed money for the plane, for training, for everything. And I got Decathlon to give me all the training material. And what I was selling was like, you are someone responsible and you're dealing with a lot of difficulties every day, so do I. You don't accept fatality and you have an initiative spirit, innovative spirit, so do I. You value effort, patience, willingness, so do I. You value justice, courage, living beyond your own condition, so do I. And that's how I made them connect with me. I was not selling diabetes. I was selling myself and the project and the fact that you were doing something good for society, for a community. So you're not trying to make diabetes look sexy so that they pay. You're trying to make them understand the project and the effort and like the fight. And that's what they're gonna sponsor, not diabetes.
Just I have a funny comment. Lucas sold diabetes as sexy. Lucas, he did like a funny ad. He wanted to raise awareness, which was a smart approach. I don't recommend you to do sexy diabetes, sexy and be revealing, but you can always be approachable. When you go to sponsors, you have to be looking as a pro. That's very much important because they will take you seriously. If you are not serious, they will sense that, okay? Other things is, I am part of ASIC's frontrunner. I'm not doing this as an advertisement, but they approached me because I have type 1 diabetes. Not because I'm a runner. I hate running. Gavin knows that. But I fixed my running form. And when they started approaching me with diabetes, I started to show the other side of there are runners because ASIC, they don't have pockets. That's really annoying. They don't have pockets. So I should put the pump. So I started to do the belt bag. And when you use the belt bag, you're also selling their products and selling what they're doing. And they actually increase their sales because they have people coming and approaching them. Sometimes they will provide you with products. They will not provide you with money. But that's also good because you are promoting yourself. I'm not taking good photos because I'm promoting the brand as well. I'm promoting myself and people living with diabetes. And it's a big responsibility to be presenting people living with diabetes in a good way and in a decent way, because you're all doing a great effort to be alive and to take care of your health. And being here is not easy. But the more representable you are, the more you will be selling your product or selling your projects. And you can mention your difficulties you went through. You can mention that this is going to be, you're the only sponsor who's going to be from telecommunication companies. You're the only one going to be from the grocery shop. Tell them you're the only one. But if they found another company competitive being in that list, it's not going to be attractive and appealing. So also that has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, so thanks Mo, and thanks Leo, and is it Rhea? Rhea, yeah. And I think you give 3 different but good examples there. Really, firstly, pulled on the heartstrings, made it personal, and you should absolutely sell yourself and why you're doing this, particularly if you're going outside of diabetes, because they don't have a clue. I mean, the ones in diabetes don't have a clue as it is, but the ones outside definitely don't. So you really do put that in, and as you made it snappy, you got to the point. How are you going to help? And I think that's really a good selling pitch that you gave there. And as Leo said, connecting those dots really is important. You know, why they're not going to sponsor it because of diabetes. You need to sell it with, like the pen, in a way of what are they gaining from it. So always consider that area. And the other thing I just wanted to say to you is get ready for rejections. I've been rejected many, many, many times. And in fact, the biggest sponsorships I ever got, one from a company outside of diabetes, one in pharma, in diabetes, they rejected me probably at least 3 times beforehand. And the key with that is I never burnt the bridge. I thanked them for their time and asked for feedback. And from the feedback, in time, next idea, new proposal, slightly tweaked it, started to learn, started to talk to other people. I got the results. I got the sponsorship I needed. So again, keep at it. Just like when you've got one person turning up, that's an outcome. If you get rejected, just like a low blood sugar, okay, it's not good, but you learn from it. So be prepared to learn. I think we might be quite a bit over time, but if you have got some pitches, I want to hear them at dinner, maybe. I don't have to be an engineer, by the way. I can be anything you want. That sounds wrong. So, so thank you, and yeah, feel free to get in touch. Thanks, Mo.